Okay, so there are some other clever ways that dreams can pull in details related to school and tell stories about them. And one of the most common that I find is you're at your school locker and you don't remember your combination. Okay, so remember, there is a hidden meaning behind that detail. It means something. So I begin with, okay, it's a locker combination. So, what combination of skills, traits, and abilities and knowledge do I need, or the person who had the dream, what do they need? So it's a combination of things. And as they are in the dream and they're turning the tumbler on the lock and trying to get the locker to open, what that can actually mean is that they're looking for the right combination of something. Look at the rest of the dream for ideas about the dream's subject or the central idea of it. What combination of things do you need? What are those things? What area of life is the dream addressing? What subject or academic area, for example? It could be any of those things, an area of knowledge, a skill that brings together certain combinations. Or think of the previous example with networking. Okay, networking combines together various social skills, ability to manage contacts, to keep track of these people, to remember when it's their kid's birthday, or whatever it is that's helping you to, better network. Then your dream could show that as trying to find the right combination to be able to open the lock or the locker. Also, what do you need from that locker? Is it mentioned by the dream? If it's a book that's in the locker and that's part of the dream, and you are trying to find the combination that opens the locker so that you can get to the book, well, now you look at the possibilities for symbolism of the book. And there is an entry in your dream interpretation dictionary for books so that you can get more ideas about that. Or think of a locker as an area of your memory that is locked. So as you go through the action of trying to find the right combination that opens the lock for the locker, it could mean that you are actually trying to gain access to something that's in your memory. And since the dream is referring to school, if school was a place that you were in long ago, it could mean that it's access to something that you learned long ago. I have found this with when I'm facing something that is related to, let's just say, math. Okay, so, when was the last time that I worked through an algebraic equation? Some of the finer points of doing algebra have been lost to me because it's been so many years since I sat in a classroom and learned algebra. So if there is something in my life that's going on that involves that type of skill, it doesn't even have to be algebra. It's the way that algebra can teach you to think about things and how to analyze things. It's a problem-solving skill. Well, now you are trying to access your memories of something, but they're really buried behind the layers of time. So the dream says, I need to tell a story about this. How can I do it? One way of doing it is to show you trying to gain access to your old school locker. The locker is an area of memory. Accessing the locker means accessing memory. Here's another theme that can arise many years later after you're out of school. Riding on a school bus. Okay, now when I analyze a dream like that, I begin with the general symbolism of a bus. You can look that up in the Dream Interpretation Dictionary to get more ideas. So one of the things presented as a possibility for the symbolism of a bus is it represents a group situation. When you're on a bus, you're going somewhere as a group. That is assuming, of course, that there are other people on the bus with you. If the bus is empty, that can mean something else entirely. But this is where we begin looking at possibilities. Now, I have found this. It was one dream that I can remember right off the top of my head is there was a girl who dreamed about being on a bus with the other members of her church youth group, and the pastor was the one who was driving the bus. So what we've really traced that back to was that she was dreaming about the youth group, and a dynamic of it was that she didn't feel confident about where the teachings of that group were taking her, and by association taking everyone else. And the dream showed it as her wanting to get off the bus because she didn't trust the driver. The driver was the youth pastor. So that shows a group situation, the dreamer among the group, and they're on a bus, and it expresses all of the situational and personal dynamics. But expand. Dreams can start with a simple idea and then expand out. So if you are on a school bus, think of as people who are, or some kind of situation that revolves around the idea of the ride of life. Your life goes places. Okay, so a dream starts with that and says a bus goes places too. If it's a group situation where you are going places in your life, the dream can show it as being on a bus with a group of people. But there are other ways that a dream could use the bus as a setting to tell a story about, for example, the ability to make friends. Do you remember the first time getting onto that school bus and looking around, and there's the kids, the other kids on the bus, and you've got to decide, who am I going to sit next to? How do you sit down and strike up a conversation, or do you not? Do you look for an empty seat, like, where you don't have to sit next to someone, or do you look around the bus and zero in on someone and say, yeah, I'm going to sit next to that person? So this is an example of the sorts of personal experiences and memories that your dreaming mind can draw from to then tell a story. The story is really about ability to make friends, and it draws from the memories of being on that school bus to tell a story about making friends or feeling wanted or accepted. I used to feel sorry for those kids who sat alone on the school bus, clutching their backpack and hoping that a banana peel wasn't about to hit them in the back of the head, or they were going to become the target of the more aggressive kids on the bus. If you've had that kind of experience of feeling unwanted or not accepted among your peer groups, and it's something that happened on a bus, well, now you have a direct association that the dream could use to tell a story about it. But you always have indirect associations because we've seen movies and heard stories about the person or the kids who, had these really bad experiences while riding the school bus. And so now the dream, it starts off and it says, I want to tell a story about some way in your life that you feel accepted and wanted, or don't feel accepted and wanted, and I'm going to draw from what you know about experiences that people have on school buses or experiences you have specifically had on school buses to tell that story. So dreams can draw from other raw material to create these school-related dreams. They could draw from specific teachers that you had. If you have a dream about being back in school and it's your 6th grade teacher who's there, there's a reason why it's not just a generic teacher, but specifically your 6th grade teacher. There is something about your impressions of that person, your associations with them, your memories of them, that the dream is pulling in to use to help to tell the story. There could also be specific friends from your school days that are brought into the dream to tell the story. You would begin with, what are the first thoughts that come to my mind related to that friend? What did I know about them? And what kind of experiences did we have together? What are the first memories and impressions that come to mind of the person? Those could be what are, or one of those, or all of them, I suppose, in theory, but probably more specifically, one or two things about that person, your memories of them, are pulled into the dream to create the symbolism. Dream symbolism is often based on our personal associations with something. And if there is a specific teacher or friend in a dream, then you want to begin with your associations with that person. My lesson on dream characters, or I should say my course on dream characters, goes into great detail about how to decode the symbolism and analyze the stories where these specific people from our present or past appear. A dream could be referring to a time of life. If it's the 6th grade teacher and you're not finding some specific association with that person that's being used by the dream, then you would take your questioning process off in another direction and go, well, is the dream really just referring to that time of life? So now you start thinking back to 6th grade, and not just the school you went to, but where you lived and what your family situation was like, what your social life was like, ideas, like what kind of person you had, that you were, and ideas that you had about yourself, ideas about the kind of person that you wanted to be or that you imagined yourself being when you got older. There's other there, but then now let's expand even further. So in school, we learn about, it's often our first experiences with dating and love. So a dream could bring in that subject and use a school setting to address it. It brings to mind a dream that I helped to interpret where this was a college age guy who dreams that he is in the school library, the college library, and he's walking one direction, and there's this girl who he knows, one of his classmates, who's walking the other direction. Now, this is a girl that he's been chatting up. You know, he likes her, and he's been trying to get to know her better and, you know, express his interest in her. So she walks past him in the dream and doesn't make eye contact. She shows no interest in him. So then he finds a bathroom. He goes inside and he has his pants down. He's at the urinal, and a bunch of girls from his college come in and they start like laughing at him and mocking him. And it makes him really angry. He tells them they don't belong there, to get out. And then he goes to the sink and he like vigorously washes his hands. So we figured out this dream based on the setting that it opens in. He's at school and he's in the library. Well, there's a reason why the dream shows him in the library. It's because the dream shows him what he is seeking information about. And it's, what is this girl's, the one he's been chatting up, what is her interest in me? Does she have any interest in me? Should I continue to try to pursue her, to try to date her, or is this a lost cause? That is really the question that was on his mind, or questions, when he went to bed. So his dreaming mind picked up on this and it told a story. Okay, we're going to put you in the library because we're seeking information. We're going to put the girl into the dream because you want information about her and what are her thoughts and feelings. Now let's put everything into motion. She walks past him without making eye contact or acknowledging him. That says something symbolically. And then when he goes to the bathroom, that says something too. Okay, it's a way of saying that he's trying to relieve himself of something. He's got these feelings built up in him, and he's got this big question on his mind. Okay, so he's at the urinal relieving himself when the girls come in and they start mocking him and laughing at him. Well, because he's got his pants down at the time, there is a way that you could go with that interpretation. But in this case, what it really expresses is that he can never find in his small private school privacy with this girl that he is interested in. In other words, every time he sees her, there's always a pack of girls around her, and they talk about everything that happens between him and the girl that he likes. If he shows any kind of interest in her, now it's a subject of conversation and gossip. And he's really tired of the dating scene at his small school because he can't find the kind of privacy with people that he's interested in to be able to get to know them better. That is a central issue he is having with the girl that he likes. He can't get any privacy with her. A bathroom is a place where privacy is expected. That's why he turns around and says to the girls, "Get out, you don't belong here." It's really expressing his feelings of wanting privacy. So the washing the hands part of the dream, it's another expression of his feelings, is he wants to wash his hands of the situation. It is enacting the figure of speech. It's metaphorical symbolism, or metaphor in motion. He washes his hands, meaning I'm done with this. Okay, so there is more raw material that could be used in these school dreams. For example, school is a place where we make big decisions, or that we have big decisions that are related to school. Big decisions such as choosing a college. So a dream could bring that theme in and say, okay, I'm going to paint this picture, tell this story about you choosing a college because it's a big decision. There is some other big decision that you're trying to make in your life, but the connection is made between what's going on now and school by the symbolic connection of they both involve making big decisions. And here's another thing that I have found in dreams, especially when I go through all of these possibilities and we don't find something that resonates with the dreamer. Remember, you know inside of yourself what the dream means. And when you consciously realize what it means, it resonates with you. You feel it. Simple fact number one about dreams is subconsciously you already know what the dream means because you create it. It's in another side of your mind known as the unconscious mind, but still you create the dream and you're telling yourself this story because you're trying to send a message from the deep mind to the conscious mind, or to the ego. So as you go through and you're looking for, well, what is the message of this dream? And you work through all these possibilities and you don't find it. You go, here is my fallback. When all else fails, what is the difference between now and then? You can refer to this with any sort of dream that features a place, a time of life, a setting that is from your past. What is the difference between now in my life and then in my life? I have found this in dreams where people realize that their lives have not unfolded in the ways that they, or some specific way that they expected. I see this in conversations that, like, if you listen in on a group of high school kids and they're full of this idealism and, well, when I get into the work world, I'm going to, I'm going to change things, or I'm going to do this or that, or as an adult, this is what my life is going to look like. This is how many kids I'm going to have and what kind of spouse I'm going to have and the job I'm going to do and the money that I'm going to make and the place where I'm going to live. Well, you know, it's easy 5 or 10 or more years later to forget that you once thought that that's how your life was going to end up or where you were going to go in your life. That, and you, but there's a part of you that remembers. And if it wants to tell a story about the difference between now in your life and then in your life, it can show you in the type of setting where those original ideas formed in your mind or where you expressed them publicly. The dream is actually pulling, it's showing you this difference, and there's a reason for it. It's not just to say, hey, you didn't become the person that you wanted to be. It's really what it's saying at heart, oftentimes, is it's not too late. Remember that this was something that you expressed that you wanted for yourself, or it's something that you thought that you wanted for yourself. You wanted to make a difference by, let's just say, helping to clean up the environment, and now you work at a chemical plant, and the reality hits you that, you're not able to change the way that they do business unless you own the chemical plant, but it's not saying that you have to, change the way that they do business. It's saying to remember that this was once important to you. Maybe there are ways that you can change things in the position that you are in now, but you have to make some adjustments to reality. It's easy to sit around the dorm room, and talk about how you're going to change the world. It's easier to talk about it than to get out into the world and realize that it's more likely to change you.